Thank you, Marion. Right. So the drusha this week is actually a dual one. It is Baha Bikutai. Now, Baha is the Hebrew word for on the mount. And it's actually just used because it's the first distinct word in this 32nd weekly portion in the book of Leviticus. Now, these two portions actually conclude the book of Leviticus. And the parasha tells us about the laws of the Shabbat year, particularly what they call a Shemitah year. But we'll be talking more about that really tomorrow on when we do that. But the parasha Baha is often combined with the next one called Bakutai. Now, that second one, there are a lot of laws in the first one about what we should and shouldn't do in order to live a fulfilling life. And as you see, this is a repeated theme in the laws of Torah over and over and over again, because Torah is not a book of religion, it's a book of how to act. In other words, the actions of someone who is religious, who believes that there is a purpose in life, and it depends on their actions. But tonight, I'm only going to refer to the second part of the dual parasha. Let me quickly explain why there is a dual parasha. First of all, it's mainly the difference between the Jews in Israel and the Reform Jews. They tend to keep the same calendar, whereas the Orthodox Jews and some of the conservatives will, before the modern era, weren't quite sure when the sunset was going to be. So, for example, we keep 7 days for Pesach, whereas the modern Orthodox, ultra-Orthodox would keep 8 days. So there's always this dissonance. But anyway, so we are going to do both of those on this Shabbat, so that next week everyone can be on the same page again. It's wonderful how the Jews, with all our arguments, with all our different streams, always land up on the same page. Baruch Hashem. Time, which we won't be speaking about tomorrow, which really concludes Leviticus, it's really about the Shemitah year. And I found such a beautiful, short 1.5 minutes video, which I'd like Jacob to show you, explaining what the Shemitah year is. It's a law that in the 7th year, the land must be laid fallow. You're not allowed to plow it. You're not allowed to work the land at all in the 7th year. And this is still observed, I think, to a large extent by farmers in Israel. But you and I understand, of course, that that is a way of not completely raping the world to such an extent as we have now, that you result in global warming. Jacob, over to you.
It's frightening how human beings are so easily influenced by their surroundings. We discuss every single section of our lives with others and never have a clear-cut decision of what we want for ourselves because we are drowning in everyone else's opinions. What college we should go to, what kind of job we should get, what kind of life we should be living. Why are we letting other people make these decisions for us? The Medrash states, one who does not till his field during the Shemitah year is a mighty warrior. So what makes this guy a warrior? Why is the one who doesn't till his field during Shemitah, the 7th year, so special? Imagine what many people told this farmer. To stop working your field for a year would be foolish. Think of all the money you will be losing. It's so easy for him to lose himself and succumb to social pressure, but the farmer persists. He doesn't till his ground because ultimately he knows where he's getting his produce from. He knows why his field produced so much, because of God's promise to us. In this week's Torah portion, we learn about what defines strength. Who is the mighty warrior? Who is the strong person? One who has clarity and commits to his beliefs, and lets no one sway him of his values.
Thank you, Jacob. A short and beautiful message. And I want to just say a few words on this. We are talking here in terms of a Shemitah year. And of course, logically, everyone would say to farmers in Israel or the world, are you mad? Look at all the money you're going to lose. But the truth is, we know now from the pandemic and global warming and the tsunamis and God knows the flooding in Natal. Yes, it has happened before. The skeptics who don't believe in global warming are going to give you 1,000 reasons why it's got nothing to do with that, but it has. And had we listened, even had we listened and not plowed the land on Shabbat, or just not abused the land to the extent we did, drawing everything we could out of it as quickly as we could, killing animals for money, we would not have had the pandemic or the global warming. So in Judaism, this Bikuta, which we're not going to be talking about tomorrow as much, is unique in that it emphasizes the Shemitah year. And it sees the Shemitah year actually as a symbol for many different commandments. And just some of the commandments hidden when in terms of plowing land. For example, you should not put an ox and a donkey together, an ass and an ox. Why? Because it's cruel. And because anyway, you're not going to plow effectively with animals of such different weights. So into this Shemitah example, which is Pukutai, they found many different things which I'd just like to share with you. And that is why it is used to conclude Leviticus and sum up every commandment we are supposed to keep. So the Mishnah employed the prohibition of Leviticus to imagine how one could, with one action, sum up so many separate commandments. As I said, to plow with an ox or a donkey is not allowed, and it's you're not. So when you don't plow, you don't do that. They believed you shouldn't sow different seeds together in the same area. So it goes on. And there are also laws even about the selling of the land, and all different laws are actually woven into this one. So I'm just going to see quickly some of the others before we conclude. Yes. So there's things about how you should pick grapes, etc., etc. And it impacts on many other things. For example, that you should feed your animals and your servants before yourself. So once your animals have done working in the field, and I could go on and on and on, but really, this one commandment employs so many others that Hashem has given it to us in Pekutai as an example to keep the commandment. And as you know, we have many different commandments. And they say that as a Jew, if you know, we all have faults, as Moses did, as everyone did. And if you know what your fault is, whatever it is, I'm very impatient, I can lose my temper easily. It says, pick that one and decide that for you, you are going to concentrate just on that one for a whole week, from Shabbat to Shabbat, and make the habit of changing it. Because, of course, the greatest commandments that we all fit into everything is Tikkun Olam. God gave us all these commandments to make the world a better place, not only for our own benefit. Because if it's for our own benefit, I can assure you it'll be for your destruction at the conclusion. Because if we don't respect each other and care for the land, which we've been talking about now for many weeks, we will not be alive, whether it be spiritually, mentally, or physically. So, just with that thought, tomorrow we will discuss all the many laws of Baha, which is part of Baha Bikuta. But the Shmita only answers half the question. And you and I have to fill in the other half by looking deep into ourselves, seeing which of these many commandments we're talking about, we're going to talk about tomorrow. We all know where we fall short, whether it is a terrible fear of loss, which makes us angry or defensive or rude to someone else, or whether it's thinking ill of ourselves that we don't have what it takes to succeed. All of those are against Torah's commandments. And so, may we be blessed to love the mitzvot, whichever one you feel applies particularly to you. I know there's the mitzvot, for example, of keeping kashrut, of keeping kosher. Now, all the Jews, many of them, not the ultra-Orthodox, don't keep kosher totally, but they keep kosher to different levels. Decide what you'd like to do and go with it. But choose yourself what you feel is the mitzvah that you'd like to follow. Don't do something that's easy to do and gives you pleasure and makes you feel good only. Do something that's difficult for you to do. It's not easy. For example, if you pass a beggar on a street, it's easy to look the other way, but you and I always feel a bit uncomfortable. So, for example, and I'll conclude on this as a mitzvah, keep just 10 2-rand pieces in the car, or as much as you can manage. And most importantly, when you see a beggar, smile at him. Or you see someone who's disadvantaged, because even a smile without the money can say, you're a human being and I respect you. Shabbat Shalom. Back to you now.